Hey there, welcome back. And I hope you enjoyed that presentation on a real case study. And as you looked at those numbers, even with negative cash flow, you can see the critical part of building wealth is appreciation. When I look at neighborhoods, I look at cities that I want to invest in different states, I look to see what appreciation is. I want something, either I want it steady or I want it to act like a rocket ship, obviously, if I can find it, although right now that's not exactly the way that it is. But it is an absolutely crucial part of your long-term hold, whether it's short-term, VRBO, Airbnb type rentals, or long-term year to 2 year lease type rentals. At some point, you may want to sell the property and you want to know that your investment is the best investment you could make. So let's get into this just a little bit more. I think it's the number one metric, is appreciation. Now, there's a decision-making that's got to go on before, but when it comes down to numbers that make a difference in your wealth, it's going to be appreciation. And as you saw in this previous example, and that's why I used it, even with a little over $2,200 in negative cash flow, you had over $188,000 on top of everything you get back that you invested, and that it's 24% per year in terms of returns. So, if you hold it longer, basically what that means is that you may be able to, even make more money. So just let it ride. I have people right now who still are buying from me that bought in 2004 and 2005, 2006, and guess what? They still own those properties. And so you can imagine at this point, once they get paid for, once they've run through all this, once they've had, 18 years of positive cash flow, then, you've got something of tremendous value. You've added the positive cash flow to the appreciation. But again, the longer you hold it, the better it can be. And remember again, the higher percentage of owner occupancy in a neighborhood, in an area, is really going to make the difference. So if I see, like I use the example of less than 5% in that one neighborhood, the reason why we went in there. But if it was another neighborhood that had 25%, then there's a real problem here. In that particular case, there's less owner occupants, to really drive the appreciation. And, I have one suburb right now in the area that I'm in that the overall city has 87% owner occupancy, the highest in my area. So naturally, I really looked at that all the time to find something to recommend to an investor. But if I get 72, 75%, 77%, way above the national average in the general area, I also feel good. But again, you got to drill down into that neighborhood, because remember, if there's a bunch of rental signs out there. Oh, and that's something I probably ought to mention right now that I haven't mentioned before. The neighborhoods I really like, the ones that limit the amount of rental signs that are there. And by the way, that's not a great way to rent your home. There's so many other ways online and things that we can do. Your property manager is always, mining for people, spending money on advertising to get people to sign up and, so they can rent. But if you go in a neighborhood and you see 20 signs out there, that's another red flag. And that's probably one of the things I should have said before, but now I remember. So high owner occupancy is extremely important for driving your appreciation. Albert Einstein said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. So, I'm not that smart, I'm a realtor, but it works. It absolutely works. And if you have somebody who developed the theory of relativity saying it, adds a little bit more credibility, I think, than just me saying it. So here's a simple graph that shows what is 5% appreciation, which is what I do. And what does it do? You take $250,000 and you do 5%, and you can see that the numbers keep going up and up. I just kind of wanted to go through that very simply. You saw a graph earlier, and maybe I should have included that again, but if you go to one of those early modules, you saw a $329,000 property that was $535,000 at the end of its 10-year life. If you decided to sell it, it could be more just let it ride if the neighborhood and if the area is still going. So those are extremely important. The thing is, man, I think you're going, like I'm telling investors today, I know you're paying a high interest rate. I know you're getting a little negative cash flow or slightly positive. But by 2025, it's what every economist and even the Fed is kind of indicating, that rates go down 1.5 or 2% from where they are right now. You do a very simple refinance, and all of a sudden, that appreciation and positive cash flow work even better, and those returns can look even higher. And this is why real estate works. Now that we've gone through that, the next section is exit strategy. Now, I have people that buy from me that say they're never going to sell. I'm going to mention this again in the next module. But you know something? Something can always happen to you. And there might be a real need to sell. We're going to go into that. We're also going to go into other reasons why you may want to sell. So I think it's very, very important that an exit strategy is in every conversation that you have with the specialist that you're dealing with. We're going to go into that. I think it's going to be very, very helpful. It'll be another point of decision making for you in buying a property. So stay tuned. More to come.